Namaskar. Today it's May 18th, 2026. Welcome to day 66 of Satvik Yogi Path. Each year on March 14 begins my 100 days journey in returning to the essence of yoga towards the celebration of International Day of Yoga on June 21st. This year, I chose to revisit Maharishi Patanjali's Yoga Sūtra and share my daily practices inspired by it. Satvik Yogi Path is simple, a global way of living with clarity. Not for aesthetics, not by any ritual, it is simply by awareness. Yoga Sūtra 2.15. Today being the 66th day of the 100 days of my Satvik Yogi Path towards the celebration of International Day of Yoga, we have reached day 66 and we are discussing Yoga Sūtra 15 from the second chapter, Samadhi Pad. Yoga Sūtra 15th. परिणाम ताप संस्कार दुःखे गुण वृत्ति विरोधाच दुःखमेव सर्व विवेकीन. Once again, परिमाण ताप संस्कार दुःखे गुण वृत्ति विरोधाच दुःखमेव सर्व vivekinah. To the one who sees clearly, all experiences carries the mark of dukkha. Yesterday in day 65, we learned that experiences feel pleasant or painful because of the momentum behind them. Today, Maharishi Patanjali goes deeper and he says that to the one with vivek, clear seeing, all experiences contain dukkha, seed of disturbance. Not because life is negative, but because everything that changes creates friction. So let's recite the 15th Yoga Sutra from the second chapter called Sadhana Pad. And the sutra is Pariman Tap Sanskar Dukhe Guna Vritti Virodhach Dukh Meva Sarva Vivekinaha. So let us now break it down word by word to maybe a little bit understand the meaning of Yoga Sutra 2.15. Parinam dukkha, the pain of change. Parinam dukkha, the pain of change. Tapa dukkha. So parinam, which means the change, and there is a pain associated with when there is a change. Tap, the pain of anxiety or anticipation. Tapah, tapah, dukkha. So not the tap, it's the tap dukkha. So the pain associated with anxiety or anticipation. Sanskar dukkha, The pain of old impressions. Sanskar, old impressions. The pain of old impressions. Guna vritti virodha, the conflict of the guna. The conflict of the gunas. Dukham eva sarvam. Dukhameva sarvam. All is dukh. Vivekinaha, to the one who sees clearly. To the one with discrimination, the one who sees clearly, all experience contains dukh because of the change, because of anxiety, memory, and inner conflict. Maharishi Patanjali lists 4 sources of dukh. 4 sources of dukh, pain. So, what are these? Let's go over it. Parinam, which is the pain of change. Whenever there's a change, there is discomfort, disturbance, pain. Everything changes. Even pleasure fades. Change creates friction. So that's the parinam. That's the source of pain. Is a change, is the change. Tap, that's the second source of pain, dukh. The pain of anxiety or anticipation. So then what is it? We fear losing what we have. We fear not getting what we want. And this anticipation creates heat, tap. So the second source of pain is tap, the pain of anxiety or anticipation. Since we fear losing what we have, or we fear not getting what we have. So this anticipation creates heat. So that is another source of pain. The third source is sanskar, the pain of old impressions. Pleasure leaves a memory, right? Pleasure leaves a memory. Memory becomes longing. We want it again and again and again, the longing. And longing, this longing becomes the disturbance, the pain. So the third source of pain is sanskar, old impressions, memory. And the fourth one is guna vritti virodha. Guna vritti virodha, the conflict of the gunas. Conflict of the gunas. The mind is always shifting. Always. Sattva, satvik, sattva, which is clarity. Rajas, rajas is restlessness. And tamas, tamas is heaviness. So the three gunas, that is always in conflict. It is always changing. The mind is shifting between sattva, rajas, and tamas, which is clarity, restlessness, and heaviness. So their conflict creates instability. So the fourth source of pain is the guna vritti virodha, the conflict created when the mind shifts in between these three gunas. Sattva, that is clarity, rajas, that is restlessness, and tamas, that is heaviness. So the conflict that is created due to the constant shifting of the mind from sattva to rajas to tamas, that creates conflict, and that is the source of the pain. So the four sources of pain, according to Maharishi Patanjali, four sources of pain, according to Maharishi Patanjali. One is the change, the change that is happening, and the change that creates the friction, disturbance, that pain. Then comes tap, fear of losing what we have, fear of not getting what we do not have. And this creates heat. So, tap is heat. That is another source of pain. And the third one is memory. Pleasure creates memory. And in turn, memory creates longing. And then longing creates disturbance, because pleasure becomes memory, memory becomes longing. We just want it. Long. We long to get it. We long to receive it. And the longing becomes the disturbance. So the pain coming from memory. Memory is the source. And the mind that is constantly shifting between the gunas, the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. And due to the shift of the mind from clarity, restlessness, heaviness, and the conflict that is created, and instability arises. So, the source of pain that we are learning is these four. And to the one who sees clearly, this entire movement is visible. Entire movement. Now, I'd like to share. Okay, before that, let me give you an analogy of our old analogy that we have discussed many times, and it is the ripple in every wave. The ripple. A wave looks beautiful. Have you, or just imagine yourself sitting by the beach and watching from afar waves, waves of the sea or the ocean or the waves. It looks amazing. It looks so beautiful from afar. But every wave carries ripple of disturbances, right? Maharishi Patanjali says that experiences are like this, beautiful, but never completely still. It's like the wave that looks so beautiful, but every wave carries ripples of disturbances. So, Maharishi Patanjali is not asking us to reject life. He is asking us to see life with clarity, clearly. So you can see the mind shifting, you can see all the experiences that carries the marks of dukkha. So instead of not escaping or running away from it. Why not we practice, we learn to see life as clarity, clearly. So when we see the nature of experience, we stop clinging to it. When you can see the source, it is easier to stop the clinging. And when clinging ends, what happens? Dukkha softens. The disturbance stills. So when I stop expecting permanence, I stop creating pain. Now, our practice for today. Today is our practice, and as I have mentioned here, that Yoga Sūtra 2.15 teaches that to the one who sees clearly, all experiences carries the mark of dukkha because of change, anxiety, memory, and the conflict of the gunas, the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. So, what are we practicing today? Our practice for today is we would notice one moment that is pleasant today. One pleasant moment. And then we will notice one unpleasant moment. So, one pleasant moment, one unpleasant moment. And then ask, what is changing here? What is changing here? Let the breath soften the cling or the push. And then gentle repetition of Om. And then we contemplate on clarity. Bhavna. So let's begin. Stillness practice. And we begin with sit and settle our breath. So at this time, I'll just take my glasses off and keep it aside. And with my back and spine straight, roll your shoulder if you have to, just roll your shoulder. And looking at a point at the eye level, and I'm looking at you, looking at the eye level. And most importantly, after you slightly tuck in your chin, you smile, your beautiful smile. I want to see that. Now, place one hand gently over your navel, nabhi, and just breathe with a smile on your face. Just breathe, observe your breath. You observe your breath for 3 breath cycle. And release. Now, second step. Now, since you observed your breath, you would just breathe with awareness. Now, you breathe with awareness that first your back and spine is straight and your chin slightly tucked in, and you're smiling, nice and beautiful smile of yours. And now you breathe in with one hand over your nabhi, navel. And you would notice as you breathe in, it extends. As you breathe out, it distends. So that's awareness, your present moment. You are here right now. So let's breathe, but this time we are breathing with awareness. And in doing so, we will equalize our breath. Equalize our breath. we count to 2 and exhale in 2. So we are equalizing our breath. Let's do it. And we do it in 3 breath cycle. Let's begin. Breathe in 1. Breathe in, breathe out 2. Breathe in 1. Breathe out 2. Breathe in 1. Breathe out 2. And just stay like that. And release. Now that you equalized your breath, first you started with observing your breath without judging it, and then you were breathing with awareness and equalizing your breath together. Now you would increase your exhalation to double from the number of counts of inhalation. So if I count 2 for inhalation, I would exhale for 4. So that's how I'm doubling the count of exhalation. And slowing down, the objective here is to slowing down our exhalation. So our breathing cycle is nice and soft and slow. So the more we work on slowing down, taking it easy with our breath exhalation, the calmer the mind will get. And the calmer the mind gets, the clearer we can see clearly. Clarity of mind. And remember, that is our objective, living with clarity. So let's do it. I'll count to 2 for inhalation and exhalation for 4. So again, awareness, your back and spine straight, your chin slightly tucked in. I just rolled my shoulder a bit so that my chest opens up, and I'm ready to breathe with awareness and also slowing down the exhalation by doubling the count of exhalation from inhalation. So I'll count to 4 as I exhale. So that means my inhalation would be in 2 counts. Let's begin. One hand gently over your nabhi or the navel. Let's breathe in 2. Breathe out 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 2. Breathe out 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 2. Breathe out 2, 3, 4. Just stay like that. And now we move on to the second stillness practice, is that you would notice one pleasant moment today. One pleasant moment. Well, I can think of having lunch, late lunch, with my children as they came back from their school. That's a pleasant moment. And now notice one unpleasant moment. Again, After lunch, one of my kid leaving home back to their apartment. So that was quite unpleasant for me. So you would do the same. Notice one pleasant moment, notice one unpleasant moment, and now you would ask yourself, what is changing here? One pleasant moment, one unpleasant moment. One is pleasant moment. It was a happy moment. And the other one, not really that happy because my kid is going back to their home, so their presence. So that is the change that happened. Now, of course, I wasn't that happy. It's the mom thing, maybe, but the change that happened from the pleasant to the unpleasant. Now I'd just the emotion that I have, I'll just try and soften it with the breath. How? I would just bring all my focus to my navel, and I'll just, if that emotion, if that thought of my child leaving, going back to their own place, brings me dukkha, then I would just bring all my focus to my navel, to my breath. I'll breathe. Open your eyes. So, which means that when we give ourselves time, when we take the time to see the source, the change, why this is happening, how this is happening, when we are giving ourselves time to see it, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, the change that is happening, when we can see it with awareness, then the clinging will start to loosen. And when the clinging start to loosen, the mind starts to see clearly. It's like the when the ripple you the in the still water in the lake, a pebble drops and ripples form, and one after the other, slowly the ripples get softened until the last one and the water is still again. So the mind is like that. The disturbance, the vritti, is the ripple, and slowly the ripples start to settle and the water becomes clear. Now let's practice the gentle Om. Remember, we practiced this before. So the that rises in the belly, the belly. O moves through the chest and softens on your lips. Let us practice one hand on your navel. Take a deep breath in, and with exhalation, the sound Om. Let's do it. Take a deep breath in. One more. Take a deep breath in. Just stay like that. And open your eyes. And now contemplate on clarity. We practice bhavna, and you can say that I met the change with clarity. I met the change with clarity. Day 66 teaches us that all experiences carries the mark of duḥkha, duḥkha, because everything changes. Everything changes. Everything is remembered. Everything is anticipated. And the mind is always in motion. Always in motion. When we see this clearly, when we see this clearly, that everything changes, everything is remembered, everything is anticipated, and the mind is always in motion. When we are able to see this clearly, we stop clinging, and the mind becomes free. So when we see this clearly, the mind becomes free because we are practicing, we are learning to stop clinging. Thank you for practicing with me today. Your steadiness is the real journey. We meet again tomorrow with the next Yoga Sūtra, 16th. It's going to be a very interesting one. Until then, stay warm, stay open, and most importantly, with your beautiful smile, stay honest to your own story. I thank you all for your presence. Thank you.